It's mostly science and fiction. Mostly.
Well, flick my nips. What a season. Seriously, flick them. They're so hard right now. Just kidding, I don't actually have nips. Again, I am blown away by this show. I think it's fucking spectacular sci-fi, that which we have been missing from our nerdy lives for quite some time. If you don't like this show, well, you can bloody go and like something else, I guess. Look, it's not for everyone, but it sure as fuck is for me. So let's break down season 2 of The Expanse and discuss some of the things we saw. I will do my best to explain what all the things are without spoiling any upcoming events. I've read all the books by James S. A. Corey, and so far the show has been fairly on point with the books, so I will do my best not to spoil anything. So in saying that, some things in the show I will not be able to explain in full detail, as it would give away their secrets and upcoming events. For those things, you'll just have to hang in there and wait for the next season. And yes, the next season is coming in 2018, it has been confirmed. Fuck yeah, can't wait. So in order to explain the goings-ons, I have split this season into 3 main storylines, or arcs. So Arc 1 is the Tycho Station and the Rossi gang. Here we have Holden, Miller and Fred raid the science lab for info, the stealing of the Nauvoo to destroy the comet, discovery that the protomolecule can defy physics by moving the asteroid, Miller and his pursuit of Julie Mao arc, that ends, concluding with a spectacular crash into Venus. Boy, that was just visually stunning. Fred Johnson and the relationship with Holden, stealing the Earth nukes, power struggle with Dawes, including the Q mutiny, and Naomi hiding the protomolecule, concluding with her giving it to Johnson. The second story arc is Earth versus Mars versus the Belt. This season focuses mostly on Earth versus Mars. We have the weapons testing on Ganymede, introduction of Bobby the Babe, brief exchange of fire above Ganymede, diplomatic discussions, using Bobby as an scapegoat, stalemate with the Earth and Mars, assassination of a Mars diplomat by Sadovir Ehrenreich, Bobby and Avasarala getting together, Avasarala meeting Jules Mao, and finding out that Mao was selling weapons to the highest bidder. The third arc is Rossi Crew and the Prax arc. This is a book 2 arc, and like any good story, you have massive arcs over many seasons or books and mini arcs within them. So this is a story that was more or less concluded within book 2. We have the Ganymede experiments, we have Prax and the hunt for his daughter May, Naomi showing her humanitarian side and her belter colours, the Rossi Crew discovering the weaponized protomolecule, and there's links here with Mao and Bobby arc. So here we go, Arc 1, the death of Miller. We learn that the protomolecule alters the very nature of physics. I can't go into too much detail here, but in the show we see the protomolecule-ridden aerostation, an asteroid in fixed orbit, starts to move. But not just that, but actually start accelerating towards Earth. There is no sign of it venting anything, or burning fuel, or creating thrust in any way. It just seemingly magically starts to move. Freaky! If the protomolecule lands on Earth, it's goodbye Earth, so Fred and the gang steal the largest ship ever constructed, the Nauvoo, from the Mormons. They try to ram it into Eros with the aim of knocking it off course or destroying it. Just before the impact, we see the massive rock defy physics again and dodge out of the way. It then accelerates faster than the nearest ships can go, and it seems like there is no hope for Earth. Some people come to terms with that, others flee. It seemingly can't be stopped. Even when a bunch of nukes get fired at it, it chooses to hide itself from radar, more or less disabling the nukes. Sneaky, sneaky protomolecule. So Miller climbs inside and we get the big reveal. Julie Mao, the woman he has been infatuated with, is still alive? Sort of? She is all blue and shit, but it is she that controls the rock. Somehow the protomolecule has mind melded with her, and although she is kinda one with the rock, she is not 100% all there. She is, however, subconsciously steering arrows back to Earth. Why? Not out of spite, nor vengeance, nor war, or anything like that. It's just because, simply, she wants to go home. She doesn't know she is in control of the giant asteroid. She is just lost in the void. Miller realizes this and manages to convince her to stop and change the direction of Eros. He gives her a big old smooch and they crash Eros into Venus in hope of destroying it. Earth is saved, Miller and Julie are dead, and the protomolecule is destroyed. Haha, not really, cunt. In later episodes we see that the protomolecule has started evolving on Venus, but more on that in a bit. One thing with the Miller and Julie stuff that I find a bit off is like Julie, who has never met Miller, who has been more or less a blue zombie for ages, wakes up in a strange fantastical blue glowing room with a goofy older man leaning over her, and she's like, "Yeah, nah, fuck it, give us a kiss, love." Seems weird as she doesn't know who the fuck he is or what the fuck's going on. But it is a beautiful scene and it is visually stunning, and I think it's a fitting end to the Miller-Julie arc. So in the Tycho arc we also get a mutiny on the Tycho station. Basically, there's a lot of disdain towards non-Belters, right? So Earth and Mars can fuck off. And even though Fred Johnson has helped the Belters, he is still an Earther, so it's easy enough for some other guy like this cunt to use that to try and get in power. And that's all this is really. Intentions aside, it's a power struggle. Oh yeah, after errors vanished from the scans, the Earth nukes more or less got disabled, and the sneaky Belters managed to capture a whole bunch of them. Fred wanted to give them back or use them as leverage, and the Dawes wanted to arm the belt with them, to make them more or less equal military strength with Earth and Mars. So now the belt is pretty much nuclearly armed. Also, let's not forget that once all the dust settled, we find out that Naomi gave their sample of the protomolecule to Fred Johnson. She sees it as a weapon, and because Earth and Mars both have access to it, in her view, it's only fair that the belt does too, so they can all be equal, at least with their weaponry anyway. There will be ramifications for this, but I can't go into too much detail here. Our second arc, Earth versus Mars. We meet Bobby. She's from New Zealand. Mars. She is one tough cookie, and oh boy is she fine. Man, I love a tough chick. Don't you just love a badass gal who knows how to throw a punch? Whoa, anyway, her team gets wiped the fuck out, and she almost does too, except the monster thing blew up. We later find out that it had a failsafe, an explosive inside of it that must have been remotely triggered. So what are these gross blue cunts? We later discover that they are children who have been experimented on and turned into these killing machines, but more on that in a bit. Ganymede is the largest moon of Jupiter, and in the Expanse it is covered in biodomes that grow food for the three factions. It is the largest food bowl for the outer planets, and so it is a key strategic point for all parties. Just like the DMZ between North and South Korea, there is a constant military presence from both Earth and Mars above Ganymede. So when shit went down on the surface, it was seen as a breaking of the ceasefire, and war pretty much erupted. The flames were luckily quickly put out, and diplomatic talks took place, preventing an all-out war between Earth and Mars. Mars tried to make some shit up and said it was an accidental engagement by a rookie officer, this bloke. They told Bobby to lie, and she did, for Mars. But later we find out that the whole thing was a cover, as Mars wanted to see their new weapon that they were illegally buying from Jules Pierre Mao in action before handing over the dosh. Bobby finds out that Mars has betrayed her, and all that she is fighting for, everything that she believes in, is bullshit, man. You know how they tried to kill her and they got all her pals killed and all that? So she then fucks off to Earth as a political asylum seeker. The stalemate with Earth and Mars continues, and continues to continue until the end of the season, where we get Avasarala, Bobby, and Usher from Spartacus confronting Mao to find out what the hell is going on, man. In these final episodes, we get a bit more info into Mao and his plans. Jules Pierre Mao has been trying to weaponize the protomolecule and has more or less succeeded, using kids with a rare disease, the Myers-Skeleton premature immunosenescence. Took me a fucking few takes to get that correct, I tell you what. Jules' evil scientists were able to mutate these kids into monsters using the protomolecule. He doesn't have some evil plan, he's just a shithead greedy businessman. More like an international arms dealer. He plans to make these weapons and sell them to the highest bidder. In fact, he wants to sell them to everyone, so the stalemate will continue. It makes sense. Each of the factions will have the new weapons, and he gets rich in the meantime while war doesn't really break out and he can just continue living a wealthy, happy life. It's just that simple. He just wants to make a fortune, or increase his fortune. It's nothing more, nothing less. This arc will obviously continue into Season 3. The last few episodes have been littered with scenes of a bunch of Earth dudes investigating the Venus phenomenon. We learn that the protomolecule was not destroyed when it crashed into Venus, but is actually creating structures and growing just as much as ever. Fucking bloody fucking protomolecule. Why won't you die? We'll talk about those cunts in a bit. Arc 3. So after the Arrows incident, we get Holden and the gang prancing about looking for action. In the books, they actually work for Fred Johnson doing, let's call it, peacekeeping missions for the belt. More like pirate control. In the show, they kind of skip that, and we end up with Holden and the gang investigating Ganymede. They meet up with botanist Praxidike Mang, or Prax for short. After the array comes crashing down and destroying several domes, Prax and many others end up as refugees. Some Belter prejudice sees a whole bunch of them spaced, but Prax, being an outer planets guy himself, is spared. Holden and the gang agree to help him find his daughter May. She went missing during the battle over Ganymede, and we later find out that she was taken by her physician, Dr. Strickland. Strickland is actually an evil scientist working for Jules Mao and is conducting freaky experiments on the kids. May has the Myers-Skeleton premature immunosenescence disease, and so is one of the few who can be turned into the horrible blue proto-monster. One of the monsters makes its way into the cargo bay of the Rossi, and the gang must figure out a way to get rid of it. They find that just like the blue goo, the monsters are also attracted to high energy sources, more specifically radiation, and so they manage to lure the beast outside and have themselves a deep space barbecue. Yum. We see at the end of the season that May is still alive and still human. She is put into cryogenic pods, probably for later use as the lab on Ganymede has been destroyed, thanks to Holden and the gang. So there is still hope for the Holdy boys to track her down and reunite her with her father Prax. I obviously know exactly what's going to happen, but I promise not to spoil anything, so I won't. So we conclude with Naomi admitting that she put the belt first before her shipmates and before Holden by giving the proto-molecule to Fred. But she is hoping that their love is strong enough to get past it and hopes that Holden can see it from her perspective. This is why she confesses, no more lies. We'll see. Bobby the Babe fucks up the Mal boys by aiding in the escape of Usher and Amasarella. At least we assume they escape. Let's see what happens there. We can also assume that Mal has fled as well. So, back to the Earth researchers. This is where we get the big spectacular sort of cliffhanger or ending, I suppose. The Earth researchers race with Mars to get down to the surface of Venus, or near enough to it, to investigate the development from a much closer vantage point. And that's when we get another visually spectacular scene. The entire drop pod or station or whatever it is gets pulled apart bit by bit and is suspended in midair above the crash site. It's fucking beautiful. The proto-molecule, as it evolves, really starts to manipulate the cosmos itself, to bend it, to change the very fundamentals of universal physics. What are we seeing here exactly? Well, I can't tell you too much without spoilers, so you're just going to have to wait to find out. Or, you know, read the books, or the Wikipedia page, or probably just Google what is proto-molecule, that'll probably give you some answers. Or you can just wait. So just in case any of you are interested, Season 2 is pretty much the second half of the first book, and most of the second book, not all of it, and there's also a sprinkling of other stories in and out. It doesn't follow the books exactly, but it is pretty on point, but they don't line up exactly, which means we don't really get nice big endings, we sort of get more cliffhanger-y type of stuff. But anyway, that's pretty much all I got to say, man. Also, have a fucking look at this guy. Recognize him at all? That's right, it's former Mythbuster Adam Savage. Well done, viewers, 3 points. He was hard to spot without his glasses, but no joke, that's him. Check out the YouTube channel Tested for some Expanse behind the scenes stuff with Adam and the gang. It's really cool. So again, if you guys have any questions, non-spoiler related, fire them away. Otherwise, you could recommend some other sci-fi stuff you would like me to review, break down, or explain in more detail. I'm not an expert by any means, but I do enjoy my fucking sci-fi, as you fucking may have fucking noticed. Or, you know, you could just go outside and do a flip. That might be something you're into. I don't know, I'm not you. Just do it makes you happy, man.